I think you should chase what energizes you. Everyone
Okay.
talks about passion, legacy, purpose,
Yeah,
la, la, la,
yeah.
la, la, la. The one word to pay attention to is energy.
I love that.
That's it. Let's simplify this.
Okay.
So, whatever energizes you, naturally expands you, feels like possibility, is exciting to do. It may be scary, that doesn't matter. It has to do with how it makes you feel.
Right.
When you were in your 20s, money made you feel good. It expanded you. It energized you. Chasing the money, that was the game. That was your passion. That was your... There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And I particularly want to say that to the women that are watching.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because it is socialized into women not to chase success like that, not to go after the money. And so if what energizes you is amassing wealth, go for it. But and the reason why I say that is because people talk about the word passion or purpose.
Right.
And the truth is, it's not a person, place, or a thing. It's not. It is the feeling of being expanded and energized.
Right.
If you're pursuing your passion, it means that you wake up every day and are energized. So instead of trying to think, what's my purpose? What's my passion? What's my purpose? What's my passion? I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking like that, I want you instead to ask yourself, what could I do today that would energize me? What energizes me? If it's making money, figure out how to make money.
Right.
If it is making a difference, figure out how to make a difference. It could be in any single shape or form. But if it energizes you, that's what you need to follow. And what happens is that passion also, because it's energy, it dissipates over time. Because when you first start making money, it's f***ing thrilling.
Yeah.
But what happens is once you learn how to do something once, you can do it over and over again. And so it starts to become routine, which means it's no longer energizing.
Right.
Which is why every entrepreneur out there goes through the mode of chasing the money, and then you hit the money that you need to make, and then you're like, I'm not fulfilled. What's my purpose? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I went through that.
I need to find, I did everybody does.
Yeah.
And it's because you were energized by the money, and now you're not.
Yeah.
Now you got to be energized by the next thing.
Yeah.
And for you, it's clearly service. It's clearly making a difference. It's empowering others. And so when I look back on my trajectory, the thing that energizes me is making people feel like they matter. It's that simple. It is giving people hope in a situation where they don't have it. It is shining a light on the path forward when somebody feels stuck in darkness. And now that I know that those moments are the things that make me get up out of bed and energize me, I can trace back all the way to the moment of being a public defender in Manhattan, 22 years old, straight out of law school, defending a kid who, and I met him for the first time. He had been arrested. I met him during night court in New York City. I was a brand new young attorney. This kid had been arrested. He had been arrested for throwing a champagne bottle in the middle of Times Square on New Year's Eve, and it had come down on a woman and had sliced her face open.
Oh my God.
And he had been ID'd and pointed at by her friends as allegedly the kid who had done it. And he was a junior in high school. High school kid on his way to go to junior college, mom working hard, terrified, absolutely terrified. And I met him because he had been arrested, and the family couldn't afford a lawyer, and I was a legal aid criminal defense attorney, and I was assigned to represent him. And I remember walking back into the cages behind the judge's bench, because if you look at a judge in a courtroom, there's two doors, typically, one to the right, one to the left. One of those doors leads to the hallway, which is what all the court officers and administrative workers walk to, that's behind the court system. The other one leads to cages that are behind the judge, which is where they hold the inmates as they're waiting to come in and get arraigned, or they're waiting, for the trial. And so I walked back there and I called out this kid's name, and I just remember him asking, is my mom out there? Is my mom out there? And I said, look, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to make you 2 promises. I'm going to get you out of here tonight, and I'm going to do everything I can. He was like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I swear to God, I didn't do it. And I promised him, I said, I'm going to get you out of here tonight, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to clear your name. And I remember the relief in his face. And he said, you believe me? I said, of course I believe you.
Gave him hope.
Holy shit. That moment, my heart blew open. And it's those moments where you give somebody hope, where you show them the path forward, where you're stronger and clearer in that moment than they are. So now they can be.
Yeah.
And that's what I show up and do every single day. If I were to ask you, what's your passion? Do you know the answer? Most of you are going to say, no, I don't know what my passion is. And while we're on the topic of passion, I bet you're starting to even think, how do you even find your passion? And when it comes to finding your passion, you're making a huge mistake. You're looking for passion in the wrong place. And it's not your fault that you're making this mistake, because you were told a lie. You were told you got to go find your passion. I even remember reading that if you find your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. But here's the problem. You've been led to believe that passion is something that you find, that it's like some magical career, or it's an amazing person, or it's a place that you're going to live, or it's a pursuit. Passion, it's none of those things. Let me tell you the problem with thinking that passion is something that you find. When you think passion is some treasure that's hidden from you, you're going to spend your whole life looking for something. That's going to make you feel lost. It's going to make you feel overwhelmed. It's going to make you feel confused. So let me show you the way. There's no such thing as finding your passion. You see, passion is not something that you find. Passion is something that you feel. If you're looking to find it, that thing that you were born to do, I want you to stop looking right now. Stop living your life like you're missing some sort of puzzle piece, and if you just find it, then everything is going to fall into place. Because passion isn't a person, a place, or a thing. Passion doesn't exist outside of you. You're not going to find it in a job. You're not going to find it on a mountaintop. You're not going to find it in a relationship. You're not going to find it online. And you're definitely not going to find it in a fancy hotel on the ocean in the Maldives. You want to know where you find it? Look in the mirror. Because passion is just energy. That's it. Passion is something you feel. Passion is not something that you find. Passion is the energy you bring to everything that you're doing. That's all that passion is. That's why you can be miserable, making millions on Wall Street, but you can be passionate as hell directing traffic on a runway for a fraction of the money. Because you know what? Passion is not what you do. It's how you do it. So when somebody says, I've discovered my passion, you know what they're really saying? I feel energized when I get up in the morning because I'm excited about how I show up in my life and the energy that I feel when I'm living my life. That's it. Passion is just energy. And that's amazing news, because if passion is just energy, then passion is inside of you, and you're in complete control of how much energy you bring to everything you do, which means you are in complete control of how you live a more passionate life. That's the secret. So how do you live with more passion? Simple. Follow the energy. Stop asking yourself, how do I find it? And ask yourself, how do I bring more energy to my current life and to everything I'm doing right now? And the easiest way to follow the energy? Start by doing things that naturally energize you. And that could mean anything. It could mean sitting in the quiet and reading a book. It could mean talking to an old friend. It could mean working on a new business, even if it isn't successful. Heck, it might just be cranking up the music and singing at the top of your lungs on your commute to work. That's why passion is how you're living, not what you're doing. You see, passion isn't what you're pursuing. It's how you're pursuing it. And that's why I wanted to talk to you. I want you to change how you're living your life right now. Stop waiting until you find your passion to be happy and start bringing positive energy to everything that you're doing today, and you'll start living a more passionate life right now. Mistake number one is that you think passion and purpose are the same thing. I hear those two words thrown around so much and swapped in and out of sentences that I need to say it is a major mistake to think that passion and purpose are the same thing. Because the fact is, they're completely different. And the other fact is, you need both passion and purpose in order to live an incredible life that you deserve to live. So let me unpack my simple way of thinking about passion versus purpose. So passion is something you feel. I think about passion as another word for energy. Passion is something you feel. Purpose, on the other hand, is something you do. Purpose is something you do. I'm going to distinguish passion and purpose at a secondary level. You ready? So passion is something you feel. Passion describes the energy that you feel. And the other cool thing about passion is for you. Passion is simply anything that makes you feel more energized in life. I'll give you an example. And I want you to think about what is something that brings passion into your life. And as you think of the thing that brings passion into your life, share it. Because when you share something that you're thinking, it always ignites and empowers and inspires somebody else that's watching this too. So for example, passion is for me. Passion is what I feel. Passion is the stuff that brings energy into my life. So here's my passion. You ready? I love to garden. I love to walk into a flower store. I love to savor a fabulous cup of coffee. I love and am passionate about watching stand-up comedy. I am passionate about hiking. I am passionate about, I'm actually passionate about the polar plunge challenge and doing cold exposure therapy. I'm passionate about getting together with our kids. I'm passionate about walks on the beach. I am energized by making plans to go somewhere. I am energized by cooking. All of these things that I'm listing are things that I do or things that I think about that infuse me with this energy. That's what passion is. And you need that in order to live an awesome life. And passion is so simple to bring into your life because passion is literally just about getting intentional, about filling your time with things that bring you energy. It kind of makes sense, right? That's all the passion is. And now that you understand this simple idea of what passion is, that it's something you feel, it's for you, it brings energy into your life, you now understand why people say, "Oh, I'm living my passion." I would never use that sentence because I think the accurate thing is I feel passionate about my work as a doctor. What they're saying when somebody says that is they're saying, I feel energized by my work. And if you are one of the 89% of people that feel stuck right now, here's what I know. If you look at your day-to-day and your week-to-week life, you are not doing anything that naturally brings energy into your life, positive energy. And a simple way to flip the switch and bring more passion into your life is to become intentional about making time to do the things. Like Marianne, she's passionate about running, designing, chilling with her friends, connecting with people, helping connect people in business, nature, sunrises, so many things. Even writing the things, did you guys notice? Even writing down what brings energy into your life actually makes you feel more energized. So that's what passion is. Purpose is something you do, and purpose is what you do for the world. Purpose is this anchor that you attach yourself to, And it is the thing that you do for the world. It's how you show up for other people. It is the reason why you're doing things. It's sort of like, I'm going to give you another example. We've got the anchor, because when you're connected to why you do what you do, you will not feel adrift, okay? But I'm going to give you another example about purpose. So have any of you ever had a situation where you're like near a body of water and you either have your dog or somebody else's dog, and that dog runs into the water or the pond or the river or the muddy stream or the swimming pool, and then they come out and they shake, 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 shake all over you, and the water spreads everywhere, right? I also feel that purpose is that stuff that naturally shakes off you and hits other people. So I, for example, in the exchange that you just saw with me talking with Brendan, when Brendan's around me and he's like the dog shaking wet, what you get hit with is his purpose of serving, right? It just flies from the guy because it's what he gives to the world. And when you understand that purpose is just why you're doing something and how you're showing up for it, and the way in which you uniquely do it, that's your purpose. That's it. Passion is for you. Purpose is what you give to other people. So mistake number one is that you think they're the same thing. You use the words interchangeably. You're not quite thinking about the difference and why both are so important. Now let's jump into mistake number two. Mistake number two, I've sort of hinted at already. Mistake number two is you think you're just going to bump into it. You think that purpose or passion just kind of happens. That's not true. The biggest thing that people don't realize, myself included, is that it's something you have to be super intentional about. That when you wake up every day, you have an opportunity to bring passion into your life. You have an opportunity to decide how you're going to show up with a sense of purpose today. And this lack of intentionality is the reason why you feel stuck. It's the reason why you feel adrift. If you're on autopilot, if you're just going through the motions, if you're accepting good enough, if you're just barely surviving, you're not anchored to anything. And you're not going to just sort of float into what's meant for you. You need to have what I call a wake-up moment. You got to have a wake-up moment and go, I'm stuck and I'm sick of it. And being stuck, by the way, is a great thing. It's a wake-up moment because you just woke up and were like, you know what? I'm not feeling connected to something deeper here. I need to fix this. And so mistake number two is thinking you're just going to bump into it, that somehow staying on autopilot, blah, 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 blah. That's not going to happen. You got to make a decision that you're going to become intentional about infusing your day-to-day life with more passion, and that you're going to become intentional about aligning your focus, your attention, and your actions on something that you value. That's how it's going to happen. What kind of business do you have?
I have a photography business.
Fantastic.
And I've on my website I've taken over 100,000 pictures.
Wow.
And I typically go to events, just like I have at least 20 pictures of you at the Success Conference when you kept coming out.
Awesome.
at that event.
Yeah.
And so therefore I need to figure out a way to monetize that.
Have you submitted them to stock sites?
No, I haven't.
That's how you're going to monetize them.
Okay, because I do media and I ask questions and I take pictures. And that's what I do, but there's...
So then let me tell you something. A big mistake that we make as entrepreneurs is we think that we've got to build everything ourselves. And what's super cool about business today is that there are channels where you can make money so that you don't have to do things that are outside your core expertise. You're a photographer. You're amazing at it. You're a networker. I can already tell. You're amazing at it. What you should never, ever do is spend time building a stock photography site, because that is not your core capability.
Okay.
But if you just focus on taking photos, which you love, and you upload the stuff that you're not going to monetize some other way to a stock photography site, as long as it's not other, it's not, as long as, you've got the rights to it and everything else, you can make money on that stuff all day long. And in fact, because so many people are creating content, the stock photography sites have exploded. It's not just Getty and Stocklist and some of the other ones that a ton of people use. There are tons of them out there. And so that's one thing that you should be doing.
Okay.
Where else do you want to grow your business?
I want to make sure I'm able to do that first step very well before I progress on to the next phase.
Okay.
I don't want to do so many different things that I'm not doing each one of them very well.
That's right. So anything where you're going to have to learn a new skill and somebody else has done it and you can outsource it, just like uploading to stock sites, that is, you don't want to make the mistake of having your attention go off the ball, which is creating a big library of photos and building something that you have no interest in building.
Okay. Thank you so much. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tell me about the next level.
The next level
for your business.
For my business, the next 2 years, I do media. I get media passes and I go to concerts.
Go to events.
And
Gotcha.
I go to the events and I ask questions.
And are they paying you? So the next step is that you're not getting because right now it sounds like you're in the stage where you're getting the tag to go and shoot.
Correct.
And you're building a portfolio.
Yes.
The next step is to get paid to show up, to shoot for people. So what I want you to say now, the next time somebody asks you, so in order to time travel, one of the things that you do is you go ahead 2 years and then you figure out, well, what does business look like 2 years from now? And what am I doing differently? What do I say? How do I talk? How do my days go? One major change that will happen 2 years from now when you reach that level is when people ask you what you do, what you're going to say is, oh, well, I'm an event photographer and I do huge events like sporting events and concerts and South by Southwest. That's what my business is. And so when you say it that way, I get paid to go to concerts. I want you to then bring it back to today. And when people for the rest of the day say, what do you do? Say, well, I'm a photographer who is hired to go to big events and shoot them. And I am here because I want to meet event planners and people in the Austin area that need to hire a photographer for an event. You got it?
Yes.
You're going to start saying that now. You're going to feel like an imposter. You're going to feel, ooh, what are they going to know? Ooh, what do I charge? I don't know. And do you want advice on what to charge?
$200 an hour.
That's great. Yes.
Yes.
I love that.
That's
I love that. Here's another thing you can say. What's your budget? You might be underpricing yourself. Especially, his eyes just went, what do you mean? What do you mean, Mel? You might be underpricing yourself because are you giving the rights to the photos for $200 too? Yes, you are. I can tell based on the fact that the wheels are spinning upstairs because you're thinking, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be. So what you're going to do is this. I think $200 an hour to start is great, and giving away the rights is totally fine, because what you want to do is you want to have a couple people hire you. You want a couple key events. Then you've got those photos, right?
Yes.
You've got people that love working with you because you're delightful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are. And then what happens over time is you'll have the confidence, having done a bunch of them, to say there's a $1,000 fee for you to buy out the license to all the photos. And as you bump into more photographers and you get more and more into the space and you do it more and more, you'll have greater confidence to ask for those things and not even flinch. When you get paid $200 an hour, which is great, that's going to be great for a little while. And then you're going to be like, wait a minute. If I'm going to give away all the rights to these photos, it's going to have to be more.
Okay.
But first, get yourself busy working at that rate. And the way that you do it is tell people, I am a photographer that gets paid to photograph events. That's what I do.
I am a photographer, get paid to photograph events.
Why don't you look in the camera and tell people that? Tell people your name and where they can find you. Go ahead.
I am a photographer that photograph events. My name is Michael Lewis, Austin, Texas. I can be reached at atxdigitalphotography.com.
And how much do you charge? Because he's not doing this for free. How much do you charge?
And I'm not doing this for free. Just want to let you know I'm doing this for $200 an hour. I will give you the rights for now. Could change later, but
yes, I love it.
Hire me now.
How does that feel to say that?
Oh, it feels great.
See? So Lizzie writes, how do you split your passions? I'm passionate about my job, but I know it's not forever anymore. I'm also an entrepreneur and trying to build my own business. How do I find time for both until I can just focus on my business? Lizzie, fabulous question. And first, I want to give you a really surprising piece of information. This comes from one of my favorite authors. His name is Adam Grant. He wrote a fantastic book, The Originals. Just go buy it and read it, and trust me, you will be thanking me later because it's an amazing read. In the opening chapter, he dispels this myth that we all buy into, and that is that most successful entrepreneurs are these huge risk takers. Turns out that's not the case. Check this out. You're in good company if you're working full-time and trying to launch your business. There was a study that he cites where over the course of 14 years, 2 researchers followed 5,000 businesses. And guess what? The businesses that were launched by somebody like you who was working full-time while launching your business had a 33% less chance of failing than the people that quit their jobs and jump all in. And the reason why is you know how to hedge your bets. You're a little conservative in terms of the risks that you'll take, which means over the long term, your business is more likely to succeed. You asked me, how do I balance my passions? How do you find the time? Because I, like you, have a million things going on. From being an on-air commentator to CNN, to having an incredible partnership with Success Magazine and doing a ton of cool stuff with them, to giving over 80 speeches a year and running a company and having a family. The key is this. You must find 30 minutes before 7:30 in the morning. 30 minutes before 7:30 that you take at home, that you take at a coffee shop, where you organize your day and you work on 2 things that will push your business forward. 30 minutes before 7:30. Why do you need to do this? Well, because when you walk into work, your day is likely going to get hijacked. And secondly, if you were to take this time every single morning and focus yourself, you're now starting your day having already done work to advance your business, and you're walking into your current job knowing what you need to get done. That's going to make you work smarter at work. I think a lot of people that are working a job full time and also trying to launch a business on the side actually have the time. The problem is that you're not being rigorous and focused about what you're spending it on. I hope that helps. Keep in mind that you're in great company, Lizzie. You're in great company with other incredible entrepreneurs that actually didn't take the leap. They kept their job. Ever wear a pair of Spanx? Sarah Blakely. She kept her job while she launched that product for over a year. John Legend, he was crunching numbers as a consultant and singing at night in his mid-20s while he launched his music career. And the list goes on and on and on. So 30 before 7:30, get 2 things done during that time that'll advance your business, and you will be shocked at how quickly things grow. If you are somebody who is struggling to figure out what your passion is in life, this coffee talk is for you. If you have a friend or a son or a daughter or a niece or a nephew who is struggling to figure out what their passion is, they don't know what to do with their life, this coffee talk is for them, and you should absolutely share it with them. So let's talk about passion. Passion is a really interesting topic because most of us have the wrong definition of passion, and for a long time I did too. You know, I get asked all the time, Gina, put a question on Instagram because on Wednesday or on Friday, which was our last live broadcast, we were talking all about energy and about your inner compass. And Gina said, you know, Mel, I'm really struggling to figure out what my purpose is. I have too many talents. How do I find my place in the world? Sorry, I just heard this loud noise, so I didn't know what it is. And I'm in a hotel, so I'm sure people are not happy with the fact that I am doing a live broadcast. So I'm going to keep my voice down just a little bit to be respectful of the people around me. So if you're struggling to find your passion, why don't you give me a thumbs up? Because this broadcast and this live training in Coffee Talk with Mel Robbins is going to give you the tools that you need in order to think about passion differently. And that's the problem. You see, the problem with passion is that you and I have bought into this massive fantasy world where we think that passion is a person or a place or a thing, that somehow, like a needle in a needle in a haystack, that you are somehow just going to stumble into the thing and you're going to find that one person, or you're going to find that one thing that you're meant to do, or you're going to find that career. And honestly, we got to change the way that you think about passion and purpose before you will actually be able to bring it into your life. Because the truth is, passion isn't in a person, it isn't in a place, and it isn't in a thing. It's something inside of you. And when you flip the definition of what passion is, and when you actually understand what you're looking for when you say, I want to discover my passion, then you'll be able to create more of it in your life. Okay, so let me give you a new definition of what passion is. You ready? Let me tell you what Gina's actually asking about when she says, I'm struggling to figure out my purpose and my passion. You ready? Here's your new definition of passion. Passion is simply energy. That's all that it is, okay? Passion is what you feel when you are energized and excited about what you're doing, okay? I want you to think about that for a minute. I want you to think about a moment in time when you felt incredibly passionate about something, okay? And why don't you in the comments tell me, where are you watching from? And tell me about a moment in time when you felt incredibly passionate about what you were doing, about where you were, about the people that you were with. Describe that moment for me, because when you start to really investigate passion as energy, this is what you're going to discover. Those moments when you were super passionate, like I'm sure my kids would write down when they're doing community theater with all their friends. I would write down whenever I'm doing any kind of creative project with my team, I'm incredibly energized. Whenever I'm doing group exercise stuff, climbing a mountain, doing a 5K race, doing some sort of walkathon, I'm incredibly energized by that. Whenever I'm doing some sort of creative project, incredibly energized by that. Whenever I'm working with our video team, incredibly energized by that. Whenever I am coaching someone or giving advice, I am incredibly energized by that. And so what I want you to understand is that if you look back on your life, you have had moments where you have felt passion. Now, I'm being very deliberate in how I'm talking this morning on Coffee Talk because passion is a huge topic for so many of you. And you've been so focused on trying to figure out what job is going to make me passionate. What job is my passion? What is my purpose on the earth? I'm going to tell you what your purpose on earth is right now. Your purpose on earth is to figure out how to align your life so that you feel more energized and excited by it. That's it. And it begins with you following the energy and following your natural enthusiasm. You're not going to think your way to passion. You can't think your way to finding something that you feel in your heart. It doesn't work that way. You got to feel your way into it. It's inside of you. Do you understand? There's no passion out there somewhere. The passion is in here. And so what you have to do first is you've got to stop thinking that you're going to find it somewhere. And you've got to realize that passion is about unlocking something that's already in you. And so here's the thing. So for those of you that have been watching Coffee Talk for a while, or you've read the 5-Second Rule book, or maybe you used the 5-Second Journal, or maybe you took Mindset Reset with us this January, you've probably heard me talk about the fact that inside of you there is power. You have an inner compass, and that inner compass is always guiding you. And learning how to read that inner compass is essential if you want to unlock the passion that's already naturally inside you. Passion, again, isn't a person, place, or thing that you're going to find. It is a state of being that you unlock inside of yourself, and it is there, and you can tap into it right now. So there is an inner compass inside of you that I call an energy gauge. It's an energy gauge that reads the energy in you and around you. And that energy gauge goes from moments when you feel depleted, dead, and empty to moments where on the other side of the gauge, you feel energized, alive, expanded. And so the truth is, your natural state, believe it or not, is to be on the energized, expanded side of the internal compass that's in you. And so you are never really lost. I'm telling you this. I know you may feel lost. I know you may feel defeated. I know you may feel depleted. I know you may feel stuck. These are all temporary states. And one of the fastest ways for you to start to change how you feel about where you are in your life is to tune inward and to start to read the energy. Because if you feel stuck, your natural energy is depleted. If you feel despair, your natural energy is depleted. And the fastest way to start to shift that is to shift the energy inside you and to start to align your life towards things that energize you, okay? Things that excite you. And if you look at your life and you're like, oh my God, I don't know anything that excites me. I don't know anything that energizes me. Don't despair. I have something that you can do today that will help you to start to align your life in small ways towards things that naturally energize you. Many of you know that I'm a huge partner of Audible's, and we have just released a brand new Audible original project called Take Control of Your Life. You don't need to buy it. If you're interested in it, it's called Take Control of Your Life. It's 6 coaching sessions. It's 10 hours long. There's a bazillion takeaways. And in the first coaching session, I talked to a guy named Dan who felt really stuck. He knew what he was passionate about. He didn't know how to follow it. If you don't know what you're passionate about, listening to the session will help you figure it out. But more importantly, your body knows what you're passionate about. Because all you have to do is start asking yourself, do I want to take a class in wine tasting? Do I want to take a class in gardening? Do I want to take a class in video production? Do I want to take a class in painting? Do I want to take a class in accounting? And whatever it is that your body's like, ooh, that sounds cool. That's what naturally energizes you because you reacted positively to it with enthusiasm, with excitement. I also talk about this, by the way, in Amy's session because Amy has no clue what her dream or her passion is, just like you might not have any clue. And so I asked her the questions I'm going to ask you. What energizes and excites you? And when you start to anchor the process of leaning into and opening up the passion inside you by asking yourself questions. What energizes me? What excites me? What are the things in my life that I have always been interested in? Who am I jealous of? What would I do for free? What do I want to learn more about? All these questions are about unlocking your natural curiosity, your natural energy, your natural enthusiasm. If you're in a bookstore, what topics do you naturally gravitate towards? When's the last time you felt energized? What are the things that come so easily to you? Inside of the answers to those questions, by the way, are everything that you need to know about unlocking more of a feeling of energy and excitement. You're not searching out there for it. You're looking for clues internally as to what gets awakened inside of you when you pursue things that energize you. So again, your new definition of passion. Passion is not a person, place, or thing. Passion is the energy that you feel when you're excited, when you're expanded, when you're learning new things. And so you got to stop thinking about it and you've got to start feeling your way into it. Well, how many of you can relate to this? You feel like you lose interest in the thing you pursue. You're super passionate and then you flame out. And then you're super passionate and then you flame out. And then you're super passionate, and then you flame out. Here's what's interesting about that pattern. Number one, it's a pattern. And sometimes patterns are broken, and sometimes patterns are just patterns. And when it comes to somebody who gets really fired up about something, and then you immerse yourself, and then you lose interest, here's what I know about you. You are basically, have you ever seen a hummingbird fly? Where it goes, zhoo, 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 and it goes from like one flower to another flower to another flower to another. That's what you are in life. And that's okay. What that tells me is you're an incredibly curious person. And I'm the exact same way, by the way. I bet I've changed careers like 23 times. And I'm about to change careers again because for the last year, I have been a daytime syndicated talk show here in the United States. And come the end of September, when my show stops airing on television, I will have reinvented myself again. Why? Not because I'm a failure, not because I'm losing interest, but because I'm constantly interested in learning. And so, number one, stop making yourself wrong if you dart from one thing to the next. Number two, find the power in that pattern. And the power in that pattern is that you're energized by learning new things. The power in that pattern is you're a curious person. And so if you truly do want to find something and stick to it, I would consider either an industry or a role where you're always going to be learning something, or I would consider going into teaching, where your intellectual curiosity can help you deepen your knowledge of things and continue to bring a new approach to it. But that kind of interest that comes and goes and fades, that's not a flaw, that's a strength. And you got to put that to your advantage and stop beating yourself up. Maybe you're never supposed to have a career. Maybe your life is going to be an amazing collection of experiences that all stack up into one of the most amazing journeys on the planet. Because unless you're going to do a career that requires a very deep technical skill set, whether you're going to be an engineer, whether you're going to be a doctor, whether you're going to be a physicist, whether you're going to be a chemist, whether you're going to be something that requires technical expertise, one thing to remember is every single thing you do in the career vertical is building a skill or an experience or a network of people that you take into the next thing that you do. And so stop beating yourself up, embrace the hummingbird pattern in yourself, and either find a career that allows you to learn lots of new things all the time and have new experiences all the time, or get into a mode of celebrating this curiosity in you. And this gets back to your message around passion, right? And that, you know, the art and the skill of building a life that is guided by the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah, that's great.
So what is something that you're worried about or feeling insecure about, or that like is the next big thing for you? I know you got a big book launch coming.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I'm talking about a topic on masculinity. Actually, before...
Where are you going? Are you going to do something with my...
I will mention that, but
okay.
Here's the thing also I wanted to add. If this is, you know, mastering the skills,
yeah,
and this is working on it or executing it,
right?
If we, you know, just to emphasize this, I was great at these two things as well my entire life, and I would achieve all my goals by executing the work on the skills. Mm-hmm. But I never had the fulfillment, and I was always lacking the inner peace or the inner, I don't know, it was just never enough. And so I never filled this up. I always went back to the mastering more skills and taking more action and mastering skills and just feel like it was never enough.
I hear you.
So I never filled up this cup.
Right.
And once I started to, you know, about 4 years ago, opening up about a lot of the different traumas that I went through as a child, and just like growing up, you know, being sexually abused by a man that I didn't know, my brother being in prison, you know, parents getting divorced like almost every kid. It was, and being bullied, you know, just everything, and being dyslexic and being in the bottom of my grade and all these things growing up all through school, not being able to read and write. I never filled this up. And so I was just so driven to prove people wrong, learn the skills, master something, and show people that they're wrong about me. And it was just never enough. It was just this endless cycle of like never enough. No matter how big, how much money I made, it was never enough until I started to work on this cup and this bucket, and then everything shifted. So it's important that we do that as much as these two.
Yes, and I know sometimes a message falls flat. When you're in this, when you're committed to providing that kind of content for people, and you can get focused on creating it and not actually being somebody that is consuming enough of it. And so that's a huge change that I made. Funny enough, on the male side, one of the biggest shifts that happened in my marriage with Chris is we had always been kind of even Steven partners, both with the parenting and with the finances and supporting one another, except for that phase where I was a real bitch and I was like saying you cannot follow your dreams. That was all fear talking.
Sure.
One of the coolest things that's happened for us is that as my speaking career took off organically, and the world basically said, lady, you need to teach the world this message, and we don't care how much you're going to kick and scream about it.
Right.
We're going to keep putting you on stages, and the phone's going to keep ringing, and we need to know about, people need to know about this. My husband had always, like you, youngest of 3 boys, dad was crazy successful, wasn't around because he traveled all the time. Chris had always had this thing in his mind that he hoped that they would grow the restaurant business and he would have this big kind of, liquidity event. And then he could take off 4 years and teach and be with our kids. And it just so turned out that it didn't work out that way in the restaurant business, but my career went like this. And so subsequently, we wouldn't be able to have the marriage or the family if Chris weren't running point at home.
Right.
And what's so
Someone's
cool,
gotta be there.
well, yeah, but what's so cool is for an entire year, he beat himself up about it.
Uh-huh.
And then he got sober. He went to a yoga intensive training. He's now a certified yoga instructor. He has a tractor.
Wow.
He runs the booster club for our high school sports. He created a triathlon in our town. That's one of the biggest fundraisers for the town.
That's
the
cool.
guy has found himself and his strength. And we've realized something in our marriage where he's just not driven in terms of the financial piece or the in the way that I am. And part of the conflict in our relationship for a long time was me putting those societal demands on him, him feeling the obligation. And so the thing that's also been really cool is that when you start to discover the courage to speak what's true for you, it's amazing how things shake out and fall into place, and it gives other people the courage to explore and figure out what's true for them. Because the fact is, he is a way better parent than I am, especially for the ages that our kids are. And I have this saying where I feel like every phase of your life requires a different you. And the phase that I'm in right now and the kind of parent that I am will be totally different when our daughter heads off to college next year. Different phase of my life is going to require a different phase of me. And so it's been so killer to see us step into this different phase where he is so happy and self-expressed. And, I was reminded of it because you talked about this project, and I want to hear more about it, about what you're working on, because he's now launching this tiny little retreat for guys.
Cool. Wow.
He's a big Knowles guy, so they're going off into the mountains and
very
really
cool.
exploring. Success is one thing. What does it actually mean to be satisfied with your life on your own terms and who you are? And so he's in this really cool inquiry about what does satisfaction with your life really look like when you take full responsibility for what truly matters to you.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, fulfillment. I mean, we can all learn how to be successful, but if we can't be fulfilled, then it's a failure,
Yeah. Let's go to our first question, okay? So the first question is, I love this topic. This is from Trisha, and this is about empty nesters. I'd love for you to talk about changing chapters in your life. My kids are in college, and I'm about to retire and move, and I would like to know how you gracefully transition into the next phase of life. Well, the advice depends upon whether or not you're excited for the new transition or you hate it. It sounds like because you're going to retire and you're going to move, that you're choosing the kind of change that you want to make. I have children walking downstairs right now, so I'm waiting to hear if I'm going to get yelled at and asked to drive somebody somewhere. Nope. You see, I'm not an empty nester now. How do you do it? Well, first things first, I think it's really important in any transition. This is kind of cool. Make sure that you complete the old chapter powerfully. Sit with yourself for an hour or two and really reflect on what this last chapter meant to you. Write out and journal about the things that you learned, the lessons, the things that you appreciate and are grateful for, and the things you're never going to repeat again, that the stuff that made you better, the things that you will always look back on. Make sure that you really take a moment and you powerfully complete this chapter before you begin a new one, because that will give you a sense of being very intentional about what you're about to go begin. And I think that's really helpful. The other thing is that allow yourself to celebrate this new change, because I believe that a lot of times, we create something new. We've just moved to Vermont. We've bought this house. Our son's going to high school up here. This is an old, bunk room, still beds back there. We've got this orange pine knotty paneling. There's Jesse. We've got the clean sheet up. This is it's going to be my office at some point. But celebrate the fact and embrace the fact that it's going to take time for you to feel like you're really in the new chapter. Any disruption in your routine, in your relationship, in where you live, in where you work, in who you're living with, all of that stuff can screw with you on a subconscious and psychological level. So my rule of thumb on all new chapters is give it a year before you feel like it's really your new life. Allow yourself to have that transition time. You might be filled with excitement during that transition time. You also might be filled with some waves of grief or some questioning. Did I do the right thing? When I remind myself that it's gonna take a year, it's going to take a year to feel comfortable in this new environment, a year to make new friends that feel like real friends. It's going to take a year to get into a new rhythm. It takes the pressure off of every day. When we moved to Vermont, I got a brand new primary care doctor, and I thought he said something really interesting. He's this great guy. He settled here because his wife's family is from Vermont, and so he's now lived here for 40 years. And at the end of my first appointment with him, he said a really interesting thing to me. He kind of chuckled because, of course, I'm very entertaining and bubbly and all this stuff. And he said, it's going to be really fun to watch what happens to you. And I'm like, what doctor says that to somebody? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, I'll tell you, Mel. In the years that I've been practicing as a primary care doctor in southern Vermont, I have seen so many people move to Vermont. They're seeking a quieter lifestyle. They're seeking a change, a new chapter. And what I find is, what you're actually seeking is a safe haven and you're running away from your problems, a funny thing happens. Your problems always go with you. And when you move somewhere very quiet, the solitude just magnifies the that you were trying to get away from. And so if you're starting a new chapter because you're excited and you're reinventing yourself, that's fabulous. Still take time to complete the last chapter that you were in. So you step into the new chapter with all of the wisdom and the gratitude and the learning and the growth that you gained. If you are starting a new chapter, as so many of us do, because we are running away from the old us, we're running away from a bad relationship, we're closing the door on something that wasn't working, you better make sure you take the time to think through and journal about this last chapter, who you've been, the habits you no longer want to repeat, the mistakes that you made, what you've learned, what you're running from, and more importantly, what changes you're going to make and how this new chapter is going to support you in doing it and in becoming the person that you're meant to be. Without that intentional moment of reflection and without that intentional moment where you're going to list out the behaviors and thinking patterns and habits you're changing, my doctor's right. You're just going to take all that crap you're running from right into this new chapter. I've been saying it a lot, that every single day when you wake up, you can decide who you're going to be. And the reason why it's so important to wake up and either consciously choose, decide, or set an intention about who you're going to be. The reason why this is so important to start doing every single morning is because if you don't consciously decide who you're going to be, Your habits, your old patterns, and the stress of the day will decide it for you. You see, human beings, this was so liberating when I learned that human beings are nothing more than a ton of patterns. We learn patterns from other people, and then we repeat those patterns. And so if you find that you're stuck in a rut, or you're overwhelmed, or you're in a negative place, and you are really tired of being there, the first step to getting the life that you want is you must wake up every morning and interrupt the patterns and the automatic nature of how you go through your day, just going through the motions. And the simplest way to do that is to wake up and set an intention. So when I say decide who you're going to be, what I'm talking about is, what mood are you going to be in? How are you going to behave? What are you going to show up and do today? Are you going to be motivated? Are you going to be patient? Are you going to be present? Are you going to be grateful? Those are decisions that you can make. And when you wake up in the morning and you set an intention, today I am going to see the good. Today I am going to be optimistic. Today I'm going to turn off the television when I get home. I'm going to spend an hour on my dreams. When you wake up and set an intention and you decide who you're going to be today and how you're going to show up and what it's going to feel like to be you, you take control of the day. And you give yourself an anchor to keep coming back to, so that when something stresses you out, or you catch yourself thinking negative things, or you get a text, or somebody doesn't respond to you and you start to feel discouraged, come back to your intention. Today I said I would be optimistic. Today I said I would see the good. Today I said no matter how tired I am, when I get home tonight, I'm going to find an hour for me. That's what I mean, Night Queen Bee, when I say decide who you're going to be today. And that's why I think it's so powerful when you wrap your mind around the fact that every single day you get to wake up and decide who you're going to be today. And it's the first step in taking control and creating the life you want.
Is it me or is it the job? Well, the thing to tell them is very simple. It's always you. It's never the job. And the reason why I think it's important to understand that it's always you. If you hate your job, you're the problem. The reason why I want you to take on that opinion is because then you have control. The job may suck. I've had a job like that where literally I would have anxiety driving to work. And when I walked in the office, I was immediately on edge. The job was not the right fit for me, but I was responsible and I was the problem because I kept going there. And the other thing that I was doing wrong is that even though I hated the job and I hated the culture and I hated who I was working for, I didn't do my best work. I used the fact that I didn't like my boss and I didn't like the job to be an asshole at work and to act out and to sabotage my best efforts. And don't ever do that. Just because you hate who you work for and you don't like the work doesn't mean you should not show up and do your freaking best. And the reason why you need to show up and do your best is because something happens inside of you when you're doing your best. And the same thing is true when you're doing the opposite. Something happens inside of you when you show up at a job and you allow that job and that boss to suck your soul dry. It sucks your energy dry. So here's what I want you to do if you hate your job. First of all, stop thinking so big and stop worrying about what you're going to do for the rest of your life. You have plenty of freaking time. I'm 50 years old. I'm still figuring out what I'm doing with my life. Next year, my business will look totally different than it does right now. The game in life is not to find the one thing you're supposed to do. It's to constantly be curious and interested in what's going on so that you can follow the breadcrumbs that are out there. So stop thinking big and just start thinking about your next move. Your next move is very simple. I want you to take the skills that you have and your ability to show up in an environment that's sucky and actually kick ass. And I want you to go and find another job. I don't care what the hell the job is, it doesn't matter. You're looking for a company or a job that has a better culture. You're looking for an environment where when you go to work, you're excited about the people. When you walk in the door, you're excited to be a part of what's going on there because you feel energized. So stop thinking about what you need to do for your living and what your calling is and all these big ass questions, and get to work finding a job in a place where the culture makes you feel energized. If you find that kind of job next, that will solve 97% of your problems. Because when you walk in the door of a job where you feel energized, you perform differently, and you stop complaining about where you're at, you stop thinking about these big daunting questions about life, and you can just focus on the day-to-day of kicking ass. So let me recap. If you hate your job and you wonder if you're the problem or the job's the problem, answer simple. You're the problem. You're the problem because you're staying in that job and you're about it, and you're showing up every day and you're not doing your best work. So the fix is very simple. Number one, start showing up and doing your best work no matter what. Number two, stop thinking about what your calling is and start thinking about getting another job. Think about the next step. And number three, what are you looking for? You're looking for a place to work next where you're going to be able to take advantage of your natural skills, whatever those may be, and you're going to be walking into an environment every day where the culture energizes you, because that's going to shift something inside of you. That's how I answer that question. Good luck.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.